In this video, I want to go ahead and start working on the empty logic of our actual shooting. So when we fire that last shot in the case of the 1911, I want the slide to be locked to the rear. So previously, we made this bool be as empty variable, and we are going to pretty much just discard it. We're not going to use it, so we'll leave it there for now, but we are not going to make use of it. Instead, we're going to make use of our attributes. So inside of the firearm actor, inside of on fire, we want to go ahead and get our current magazine ammo and go from there. So to begin, let's go ahead and get access to that attribute. So if I ability system interface equals cast to the I ability system interface from the owner. So get owner. So this will get that interface from the owner. Now we need the component. So U ability system component equals ability system interface get ability system component. So now all we have to do is just get the gameplay attribute value of the U firearm attribute set, get current magazine ammo attribute. Then the second parameter is just whether or not it was found, so be found. So we need to make that, so bool be found. So let's make sure we included the U firearm attribute set. So ugas attributes firearm attribute set.h. We want that. And yeah, that is all we need to include. So what I want to do here, where are we at? Right here. I want to store the value. So const float current magazine ammo. And I want to print it out. So UE log temp warning text current magazine ammo. And we'll just print out current magazine ammo. Once we have that printed, let's go ahead and give that a try so I can kind of walk you through kind of what we're going to be doing in regards to a little bit of the refactor with the, the firearm logic component. So for this, I will just play as the server. So I'm going to shoot once, and you can see we have a value of 7. So remember, let me actually show the attributes. Our current magazine ammo is currently 6. However, we printed 7. So remember, we do have a magazine size of 7. And if I empty the magazine, you can see we go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, but never 0. So we're not keeping exact track. We're always one behind of the actual attribute value. So the reason for this is if we head into the gameplay ability fire, let's go up to our activate ability. What happens is we are the local controlled. So we are locally controlled. So we call the fire function. Inside of the fire function, we call our perform bullet trace. Inside of perform bullet trace, we are broadcasting that on fire event. So that delegate that we're bound to right here, which we're using to print the attribute, is basically being called, where am I at? Called right here. So it's being called inside of our fire function. And that is before we actually go through and apply the cost. So we're basically doing things kind of beforehand, so to speak. So this is what we want to start kind of working on. So we don't want to perform, this stuff inside of perform bullet trace. Instead, we would much rather have some sort of function related to performing these, I'm going to call them fire effects. So to begin, let's go to our firearm logic component and find our perform bullet trace. And we'll simply do a void perform fire effects. And this is where we kind of want to trigger everything. Well, not everything, but, some stuff. So one of them being the actual on fire event. So anything bound to it, good to go. And likewise, here, I'm just going to make a comment. It's going to be for things like audio, muzzle flash, case ejection, etc. That's what this function is going to be for. Now, inside the fire function, right here in the logic component, so not the ability, we want to actually call this as well. So we're just simply going to call perform fire effects. That way, we're pretty much just, it's for the replication side of everybody else being able to actually, see it and respond to this event. Next up, let's go to our gameplay ability fire, and we want to go ahead and call that function after we apply cost, because otherwise we would basically be getting the attribute value and just subtracting 1 from it, which, in my opinion, that is fine as well. But we want to go ahead and after we apply the cost, after we consume the replicated data, what we can do is go ahead, grab the firearm logic component, and call the perform fire effects like so. And now we are ready to try. So we can close down the editor, recompile, relaunch, and give it a test. Okay, once we are back inside the editor, let's hit play again and left click. Actually, let me clear the log. So left click, and you can see we start at 6 rather than 7. And if I empty the magazine, we end up at 0. So that's what we want. Now I want to do a little test to explain one of the problems we're going to have to solve in the near future. But to begin, I just want to print out if we are the authority. So authority %d has authority. And with this, I will go ahead and play as let's do a remote client. So hit the drop down here, go down, we're going to have to do 2, and we'll do play as client for both. So I'm going to use client 2 for this. So let's clear the log, and when I shoot, oh, I think I double tapped. But you can see current magazine ammo for the shooting client is 6, and then for the server, we're firing it off at 7, then 6. Then for the other client, we're getting 7, then 5, and it's just kind of a little bit of a mess. But the main thing we want to focus on is the last round. So I'm going to hold it down, and there we ended up. So you can see we end up with on the server, which is correct because the server is, again, everything is predicted there. We end up with a value of 0, and that's what we want. So this is the shooting client, this here is the server, and this here is the client on the right-hand side that was just watching. So he has a value of 3. So he's not actually able to see the slide lock to the rear. We haven't done that yet, but just pretended, on this guy right here, the slide's locked back, but it's not locked back when I'm looking at it. So that's one of the things we're going to have to solve, and that's going to be done through a attribute binding. So basically, we're going to bind to the current magazine ammo changing, and when that change happens, we're going to check and see if it equals 0. If it does, we want to go ahead and just simply play the empty fire montage. So that'll just kind of keep the state correct about how we want. So the only other thing would be just to make it automatically start reloading when we are running out of ammo. That will also kind of help to correct/guide it, because it's gonna, after the shot, trigger the reload of the slide being locked to the rear and all that stuff, if that ends up being the correct state. Anyhow, let's just continue with how we are going. So what we want to do is inside of on fire, we want to use this logic here, so the current magazine ammo, to control/replace be empty fire. So let's make a new bool. So we're going to do be magazine empty and set that equal to false by default. And we're going to set be magazine empty to equal the result of current magazine ammo, and if it equals 0. So if current magazine ammo is 0, the magazine is empty. So let's replace be empty fire with be magazine empty. And this, for the shooting client and the server, will lock the slide back to the back, or lock the slide back to the rear. Can't speak today. So here we have the 2 clients, and I'll show you the bug on this guy. So we shoot, and as you can see here, the slide is locked back, but on this client, his slide is not. Then if I play with a listen server, we will see it being successful on both. So there we go. Slide is locked back here on the client and here on the server. And same thing, if the server shoots, he is going to have his slide locked to the rear, but the clients won't be able to see it. So basically, clients are unable to see other clients' slides being locked to the rear, as you can kind of see here, because the client thinks that the ammo in the magazine is a value of 3 rather than 0. So that's just one of those things where it's kind of, I guess you could say it is what it is, so we have to work around it. So if I shoot once, and I can never get one shot off, I keep double tapping. There we go. I think I did just one shot maybe. And then the other thing we're going to have to look at is to try to see why the server fires this off twice. So if I shoot as, that's not the listen server, this is. If I shoot as the listen server, just once, we get the server shooting and then the client receiving the shot. However, if I shoot as the client, we get the client shooting and then the server fires it twice. So that's another thing we're going to have to look into, but we're going to do that and kind of consolidate it, hopefully into one video, depending on how long it goes, in order to correct the ending, well, to correct the remote clients being able to accurately see the state of the firearm. Basically, that's just kind of what I'm trying to say. Anyways, that is going to be all for this video, so I will see you in the next one. If you like what I'm doing and you want to help support me, you can find a link to my Patreon in the description below, where you can get early access to this entire series.